Welcome, everyone. Let's get right into today's explainer because we are tackling something that literally affects us every single day, and that's human behavior. We rely so heavily on words, but the truth is, so much of what people actually feel goes completely unspoken. Today, we're diving straight into Patrick King's fascinating frameworks from Read People Like a Book, so we can figure out how to decode those hidden signals together.
So, I have to ask you this right off the bat. Do you think you can read someone's mind without asking them a single question? I mean, it sounds like absolute magic, right? Now, obviously, we can't literally read minds with telepathy. But as you're going to see today, if you know exactly what to look for, you can absolutely decode a person's unspoken signals, their emotions, and their true intentions. Okay, let's take a quick look at the 5-step framework we're going to use to do this. We'll be covering decoding the hidden mind, faces and body language, identifying personality types, the art of catching lies, and finally, mastering the quick read.
Starting off with Section 1, Decoding the Hidden Mind. We're going deep into the subconscious right away.
To really understand this, we have to turn to the famous psychiatrist Carl Jung and his shadow concept. Jung explained that the shadow is basically that part of ourselves that we desperately try to hide from the rest of the world. It holds all of our fears, our anger, our jealousy, and our perceived weaknesses. Decoding the shadow, well, it's essentially like finding the secret master code to someone's true motives. Think of repressing your shadow exactly like trying to hold a ball underwater. You can press down on it with all your might, but eventually, you know what happens? Your grip slips, and that ball bursts violently right to the surface. It's the same with people. No matter how hard someone tries to hide their shadow, it eventually leaks out and reveals their true behavior. And if you can identify someone's shadow, predicting what they'll do next becomes incredibly easy. So these deep layers dictate almost every decision we make. First up is that shadow personality we just talked about. Second is the inner child. A 2016 study actually showed that our childhood traits never fully disappear. In fact, they become more visible as we age. So if someone suddenly gets overly emotional in a meeting, you're literally watching their inner child react. And third is Sigmund Freud's pleasure principle, which is the idea that we humans are universally driven to seek happiness and avoid pain. Moving on up to the surface layer with Section 2, faces and body language. Now, words can absolutely lie, but our body language and our facial expressions, they rarely do. The real trick here is understanding the difference between macro and micro expressions. Macro expressions last for a few seconds, and frankly, they are super easy to fake. But American psychologist Paul Ekman found that micro expressions, which flash across a face for just a fraction of a second, are the ones that expose a person's genuine, hidden emotions. So, what specific micro-expression clues should you be looking for? Well, a sudden tightening of the lips or a quick twitch at the corners of the mouth can definitely signal anxiety. Avoiding eye contact, wrinkling the nose, or pressing the lips tightly together often indicates a total lack of interest or disagreement. Keep in mind, real expressions just flow naturally and stay consistent, while fake expressions always feel forced and kind of exaggerated. But hey, it's not just about the face. Evolution has completely hardwired our bodies to react on autopilot without needing any words at all. Our neurotransmitters and hormones instantly shift us into alert mode when we feel threatened. And what's really fascinating here is how this actually manifests differently across genders. When showing hesitation or fear, men will very often adjust their tie or rub the back of their neck. Women, on the other hand, are much more likely to touch their collarbone or play with a necklace. These are subtle, purely evolutionary tells. And when, of course, we have those universal physical gestures that immediately signal a person's mental state before a single word is even spoken. If you see someone holding their head with both hands, that is a universal, undeniable sign of deep, overwhelming anxiety. Simply rubbing the forehead, that's a classic textbook indicator of nervousness. I promise you, once you start actively looking for these, you're going to see them absolutely everywhere. All right, let's jump to Section 3, Identifying Personality Types. It's time to start finding some patterns. The Big 5 personality test is amazing because it gives us a complete, highly reliable blueprint of someone's behavioral tendencies. You just have to ask a few questions. Are they open to new experiences? How responsible or conscientious are they? Do they express themselves openly through extroversion? Are they agreeable and cooperative? And finally, neuroticism, which just asks how emotionally stable they are. By simply grading someone on these 5 traits, you get a remarkably full picture of who you're dealing with. Another incredible tool we have is temperament theory, which basically sorts people into 4 main categories.
You have guardians, who are your highly responsible rule followers. Then artisans, who are adaptable, creative, and just crave freedom. Idealists are those deep thinkers who absolutely love to inspire others. And finally, rationals are your extremely logical, strategic idea generators. Actually, I highly encourage you to mentally categorize your friends and colleagues into these groups right now. It's exactly what a psychologist would do, and honestly, it makes predicting their reactions so much easier. Okay, moving right along to section 4, the art of catching lies. Let's talk about spotting deceit.
So be honest, how good do you actually think you are at spotting a liar? Because we all assume we're pretty great at it, right? Well, according to surveys, out of a 50-person sample, only 20 people can successfully catch lies 80% of the time. The other 30 people completely fail. That means less than half of us are actually any good at this. Spotting a deliberate lie is way harder than just looking for a nervous little twitch.
The brutal truth is, catching deliberate lies from complete strangers is incredibly tough. However, your chances absolutely skyrocket under 2 very specific conditions. First, you know the person well enough to understand their normal baseline behavior, so any weird deviation stands out like a sore thumb. And second, the lie is spoken completely unplanned. Trying to invent a totally flawless story right on the spot is practically impossible for the human brain to pull off.
So, if you suspect deception, you really need to set a trap. Think of it as a strategic mind game. Step 1, ask open-ended questions that force them to do the talking. Step 2, hide what you already know. Absolutely do not give away your cards. Step 3, make them think fast by asking rapid-fire questions. And step 4, watch out for over-explaining. Liars will almost always put in extra effort to convince you of their story without providing any actual solid proof. Just sit back and let them tangle themselves up in their own web.
Finally, we are at section 5, mastering the quick read. How to decode strangers fast. This is where you really need to rely on a psychological superpower known as thin slicing. Thin slicing is basically the art of observing small, rapid signals in just the first 5 minutes of interacting with someone to accurately form a judgment about their future behavior. Research shows that those first 5 minutes are absolutely crucial because right after that, people start altering their behavior to fit the situation they're in. To thin slice effectively, you have to look at the immediate physical clues. Are they using bitter, provocative language to mask some hidden anger, or are they practicing calm diplomacy? Look at their environment. How a person maintains their home or their workspace, or even just how they prepare for guests, instantly reveals incredibly deep insights about their underlying negativity or positivity, and it only takes a few seconds to observe.
But listen, thin slicing isn't just for in-person meetings. It totally applies to the digital world too. Online, a person's grammar acts as a massive behavioral clue. What is their specific choice of vocabulary? Do they use an active voice or a passive voice? What emotions are hidden right there in the subtext of their social media posts? Believe it or not, these digital footprints give you a remarkably clear picture of their true personality.
So when you bring it all together, the crucial point boils down to this single idea. Unspoken signals build stronger relationships. Mastering all these skills, from understanding someone's deep shadow to digital thin slicing, isn't just about playing detective or trying to catch liars. It is fundamentally about deeply connecting with others, empathizing with their unsaid struggles, and learning how to navigate social situations flawlessly.
I really want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you ask someone how they are and they casually reply, "I'm fine," I want you to stop and look closer. What will their shadow, their micro-expressions, and their overall digital footprint actually tell you? The world is full of hidden messages just waiting to be decoded. So go out there, pay close attention, and start testing your new skills. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.